dirt roads to rock crawling, two-buck chuck to screaming eagle, moonshine to 50-year-old single malt. We talk about it all here on Wheelin' Wine and Whiskey with your hosts, Jason and Chris.
Welcome to Wheeling Wine and Whiskey Podcast, episode 204. My name is Chris, and I'm going to be your host today because Jason, well, nobody knows where Jason is. Where in the world is Jason? So Jason's missing in action. I'm recording from my home studio, and because I didn't want to talk to a wall by myself, I decided to phone a friend. So I called up Jimmy Jett from Snail Trail 4x4 is going to join me on the show today. How you doing, Jimmy?
I'm doing well, Chris. Thanks for giving me a chance to join you on your guys' podcast. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Dodges and Toyotas.
I don't believe you.
No? Come on, man. This will be fun.
Have you ever owned a Toyota?
I actually did.
Oh, really?
I thought you listened to our show. We talked about, I owned a Toyota Celica GT way back in high school.
Yes,
it was a hand-me-down from my dad. I had the 20R four-cylinder engine in it. And that thing, it was a dog, but and it was rusty as hell because we lived in Connecticut. But, it started every time I turned the key, and I put a kick-ass stereo in it like any high school kid's going to do. It was a cassette tape deck, right? Oh, but yeah. When I took the car over from my dad, it actually had an 8-track player in it.
What's that? Never heard of it.
You never heard of it? That's old school stuff. For our younger listeners, Google 8-track player and you'll get a kick out of it. So, I actually threw that thing out the window while I was driving down the road, so it never came back ever. So
nice,
funny stuff. So listeners, it's we're recording a week before Easter, and I'm going to kind of dovetail into that in a second. But also, in honor of Jimmy, I found out this is a fun fact. Today, Jimmy, is National Happy PB&J Day.
No way.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Sunday, April 2nd is National PB&J Day. Now, I know you like your PB&H, right, for camping. Yes. That's your staple for your meals when you're off-roading.
Absolutely is. I really enjoy them mainly because I don't have to cook and I don't have to worry about keeping them cold. Like if you bring jelly or jam, you have to kind of concern yourself about keeping that cold. Yeah. Or honey, you don't need to worry about it. So it's like the easiest meal that you could ever do. Bread, peanut butter, and honey, you don't have to worry about it.
I don't think keeping things cold on the Rubicon's a problem right now.
Not right now, no. You just drag it behind you in the snow.
Sure enough. Well, now that you're married and you have a daughter, a stepdaughter, is that a stepdaughter? Or how's that work?
Yeah, it's not legally a stepdaughter. I can't legally adopt her because she still has her dad's still around. So
right. But,
yeah.
But I mean, you've stepped up your game a little bit and have a refrigerator and whatnot that you take camping with you. So you cook. You actually cook while you're camping now. You're not the bachelor life anymore.
No, but we still do it pretty easy. We usually go to like Trader Joe's and get some pre-frozen bagged meals and just throw that in a pan and stir it up and then eat. So we're still not, doing multiple courses and having fancy meals out on the trail. We're still pretty simple.
Well, right on. Very cool. So,
but I guess I know what I'm going to be having for lunch today. So I appreciate that.
PB&J or PB&H. That's right. Yeah. In honor of National PB&J Day.
Yeah,
awesome.
Absolutely. And I even had a peanut butter and banana and honey open face sandwich for breakfast.
Oh, look at you. You're just like living the dream. Sitting at home. I went to have breakfast this morning and I figured I'd have a bowl of cereal, but there literally is no cereal in my house right now. It's, I know my family likes their Cinnamon Toast Crunch and I like these honey oats and nuts or whatever the hell it is, but they're gone. Everything's gone. So I ended up eating oatmeal this morning. So, but I don't know. This is Wheeling Wine Whiskey. We get all branched out in rabbit holes. So, but I also mentioned it's so we're recording a week before Easter Sunday. Do you have plans for Easter Sunday? Do you celebrate?
We're gonna do a small little egg hunt in the backyard, and then we're having some family over for brunch, and then we're going to another side of the families for like a dinner sort of thing.
Lunch, dinner.
Yeah. And so we're only going to have like 2 meals, but they're going to be some of the biggest meals you pretty much have, during the day. So
right.
it's going to be pretty overall. It's going to be kind of low key. We're not doing a whole lot at our place. It's just going to be have some small family over and then go see some other family on the other side.
This is a little girl. She enjoyed decorating Easter eggs, coloring Easter eggs, and all that stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll do that probably on Saturday, the day before, and then we just go out and hide them that morning. You know, she knows we're doing it, so we're just running around and hiding it.
Do you dress up as an Easter bunny?
No.
No.
I don't have that suit. I got a Santa Claus suit, though.
So up at the golf course I work at, they do a big Easter egg hunt for the community. It's a free thing that I have to set up the zones up in the driving range next Saturday. But they pulled all the supplies out for the Easter egg hunt. One of them's a giant bunny suit, and it's the creepiest looking freaking bunny head. I swear. I'm like, I saw that thing sitting in the hallway to the general manager's office, and I was like, that's freaking me out, man. And I thought about grabbing the head and putting it on and driving around the golf course in the dark and scaring my crew.
You should do it. Figure out how to light the eyes up or something.
Oh my God. They'd probably shoot at me. They'd call a hunter and take me out.
Wear an orange vest.
That'd make the news. That'd make the news for sure. So, okay, cool. Well, right. Moving on. So, it's also spring break for it's a lot of the school systems down in the Bay Area. I don't know if your wife and kid are out on spring break this week too or not.
Yeah, they are.
One of the things I noticed when I was driving home from work this past Friday was how bad traffic was. I was like, what is going on? And then it dawned on me. I said, oh yeah, spring break. So a lot of people are mad dashing out of the Bay Area to go, I don't know, go drive in the snow and ski. I mean, I'm sure the resorts are going to be packed this week.
Absolutely.
Going to hear from Jason, goddamn mountains were stuffed with people, man.
Probably. I loaned my Toyota Tacoma out to my brother because he's heading up to the mountains this weekend.
Oh, yeah?
So, yeah. So it's, I'm sure it's going to be crazy up there. That's one of those things, you know it as well as I do, is, you know, you don't hit the traffic heading up towards Tahoe on a Friday, and you don't hit the traffic heading towards the Bay Area on a Sunday because it's just chaos.
Oh yeah, no, you try to go up Thursday or Saturday if you have flexibility in your schedule. I mean, with my current work schedule, being able to take my weekend is actually Sunday, Monday typically. So I go going to see my mom in Reno a couple weeks ago, I guess. Mm-hmm. You know, I drove up Saturday afternoon after work, and it's usually as long as the weather's good, it's a piece of cake, you know. And coming home on Monday morning or Monday afternoon, it's a piece of cake. You avoid all that weekend nonsense. So yeah, I kind of like it, but at the same time, it doesn't really vibe very well with a lot of my friends. And, you know, they have their normal Saturday, Sunday weekends. So it kind of puts me out of sync with that a little bit.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I know it just even from driving to the Bay Area, from like my house to the shop. You know, so you just avoid the freeway on those days because everybody else is traveling.
How far of a trip is that from the house to the shop? It's pretty quick.
10 to 15 minutes.
Oh, that's not bad. And there's probably back roads that you can take to do that.
Oh, yeah. Easy.
So you mentioned the Tacoma that you loaned to your brother. Have you been tracking? I saw an article, and this will be a little bit of Toyota talk on Wheeling Wine and Whiskey, but I noticed that there's sounds like the rumor is in 24 or there's going to be an all-new Toyota Tacoma. I've seen some renderings, and doesn't look much different. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
It looks a little different. It looks a lot like the new Tundra, and that's my thought, is that it's just a mini Tundra. It's like this smaller version. It's got the headlights that are similar, taillights that are similar to a Tundra. It's got the grille that's pretty close to it. I don't know. It just looks like a scaled-down Tundra to me, which is kind of interesting. But I think it looks good. I like the changes. I like the more wraparound kind of headlight style, a little angular. The stats that are coming out are fairly good. I mean, but it's still a mid-sized truck that's going to be a little gutless.
So is there news on the powertrain then? Is it going to be like turbocharged, a 4-cylinder? Or, I mean, because it seems like that's the trend for most automakers now, are moving to, turbocharged, smaller displacement turbocharged engines.
Yeah, there hasn't been much released on it yet. As from what I can tell, it's going to be pretty similar to what's already established in the Tacoma. But they are going to be doing a hybrid version.
Oh,
that's going to be an option.
I got you.
I'm not sure if it's going to be an option for 2024. It might be a little later, but I do know they're coming out with one.
Okay. Are they upping their games? Have you heard if they're upping their game with regards to the entertainment system? Are they going to be allowing Apple CarPlay and Android Auto? Because I know that a lot of people
they do that now.
And
did I say hydrogen?
Oh, you said hybrid, I think.
Okay, good. In my head, I was like, hydrogen. Did I just say hydrogen? Well, they are playing in hydrogen. Toyota is still playing in the hydrogen market, but they're not releasing a hydrogen Tacoma.
No. Well, they have that. What is that thing? The hydrogen car, the Clarity? Mira. No, that's the Honda.
I believe it's the Mira. It's like MIRA or something.
Right. Mirai or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
It was funny when we were driving back from King of the Hammers. I was caravanning with Jason and Jack, and we stopped at Harris Ranch for a Sando and to just, take a little break. And they have, Jack's like, what is that over there? What is that over there? And so from sitting in that little fast food barbecue joint, you can look across the parking lot and they have a hydrogen fuel station there, which is the first one I've ever seen. Harris Ranch, if you drive down I-5, it's a great stopping point. And they have a a huge charging station for Teslas. I think that's all power superchargers for Tesla. But Tesla's opened up their chargers from what I've heard to other brand cars. But that's so hydrogen. I don't think you said hydrogen, but yeah, there's I think Honda and Toyota are certainly the players and I don't know if anybody else has a hydrogen powered car or not, but it seems like those fuel stations are few and far between.
Yeah, well, I'm actually in talks with a guy to try and get him on our podcast. That's a advocate for hydrogen. He's a lobbyist for the state, and so I'm just kind of curious. I just have questions for him. Just how does it work? How safe is it? Everybody's concerned about hydrogen.
Well, it's explosive as hell. I mean, remember the space shuttle, situation? That wasn't good, but that was a massive hydrogen explosion. And, these cars driving around with I don't know how many gallon tank of high explosives, but gasoline's the same way in certain cases. And so, I don't know. I look forward to that episode. That's going to be interesting for all of us. Yeah,
it'll be really interesting. Their main push is that, it takes as long to fill up as gasoline does. Right. It's just a transfer of fluids for the most part, or air, or however, or gaseous state or whatever it is. I'm not even sure. But with an electric, you got to sit there. It's like an hour, superchargers or something else. But, it takes a good period of time, go get a meal and then come out and your car is like halfway charged or something.
Oh, I know.
But with hydrogen, it's super fast.
Well, it's interesting to see what the ranges are. Because, if they decide to make a hydrogen-powered, 3/4 ton or 1 ton pickup truck, because that's the joke right now about electric EV trucks, whether it's the Ford Lightning or the figment of our imagination Cybertruck or the Rivian or whatever. As soon as you hook a payload up to these things, the range just tanks. And it's like, that's not practical. A guy that's going to want to tow his Airstream up to Yosemite with his Lightning, he's going to have to stop. It's going to take him 3 fucking days to get to the campsite.
Yeah.
And then, there's no infrastructure, at least to my knowledge, in Yosemite. I'm just using that as an example because that's a fun destination. There's no power in those campsites to charge your truck. So it's like, you got to kind of plan for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's, at least in this point of our electric vehicle, infrastructure and purpose, it seems like electric vehicles is really good for the person that's just commuting to work and back. And if you're going to do anything long haul or tow something or, even crawling or off-roading, it's not really an option. It's at least yet, it's not there. We're not ready for it.
No. Well, speaking of crawling, and of course, there's the hybrid or the 4xe, which is the plug-in hybrid Jeep. Not Toyota, but Jeep has a rumor had it that they were going to install some solar-powered chargers up on the Rubicon to charge these things up. And, I was like, that's a publicity stunt first and foremost. But secondly, those things, I guarantee you they'd be sabotaged or vandalized, not in pretty quick order. So I don't know. I mean, it's like you even hear about even this Tesla power stations, any of these EV chargers that you see in parking lots or shopping centers or whatever. It's not uncommon for copper thieves to come along and cut the cords off them so they can go sell the cords. So people with their fancy cars pull up and they have maps and say, oh, let's go to, outside of Starbucks here, there's a charging station. They pull up and there's no cord because somebody stole it. So, yeah. Anyway, we're not here to talk about EVs. We're here to talk about off-roading and, kind of staying with just giving you your chance on Wheeling Wine and Whiskey. I listened to your show. You've been doing a bunch of upgrades to Bobcat. Have you stripped out the suspension and what's going on with that?
Oh yeah. So we're heading to Cruise Moab in a few weeks. And I've had this weird hair like in the back of my head that's been pushing to try to try out Tundra leaf springs, because I've always been like, the Tundra leaf springs pretty similar to the Chevy 63, which is a very common swap to do in off-road crawling situations. Everybody goes, oh, you need Chevy 63 springs, let's try those out, So I've been running Chevy 63s or a version of Chevy 63 for a long time. But the Tundra is, you can
just pick up from a scrapyard pretty cheaply.
Absolutely, yeah. You can. They're cheap. They're easy to grab from a scrapyard, and they're plentiful. They're everywhere. Chevy 63s, right?
Perfect. Okay.
So the Tundra is only, I think it's 3/4 of an inch less distance than a Chevy 63. Right? Really? It's 62.25 inches, or somewhere like 62.5. Right. So it's almost
inches matter,
Yeah. So it's just about the same length. And I did an entire, I installed an Ironman 4x4 foam cell suspension kit on a Tundra. And I said, can I keep your rear leaf springs? I want to try them out. And the guy's like, yeah, totally. So I have a set of Tundra leaf springs and I threw them underneath Bobcat. And what was funny is that I didn't really think about it too much. I was like, I got Tundra springs. I'm going to throw them underneath there.
Okay.
The Chevy 63 springs that I had, I bought them from 4-Wheel Parts. They're a Pro Comp, like 4 or 5 inch tall spring, and the center pin is not centered in between the eyelets.
What?
Yeah, it's just that it's a different setup.
Okay.
But it's not too far off. So when I lowered my truck, the rear end of Bobcat, like 4 to 5 inches by putting in these stock springs because my other springs were lifted. So it really like dropped Bobcat down. I was like, that's too low. I'm not like,
no.
Yeah, it's a great thing to be a little lower. But I was just sagging in the rear. It didn't look good, and it had the rooftop tent on it because I usually have a rooftop tent on there. But I didn't have any of the my camping gear and none of the fluids or spare parts or anything else that I throw in. So it was
light.
Yeah, so it was on the lighter side and it was already sagging. So I unbolted it from the axle. I put some like 1-inch spacers in there. That actually leveled the truck out really well.
Okay.
And the wheels a little bit better, a little bit more centered in the wheel well, which is actually kind of nice. So I'm going to rock those for Cruise Moab here coming up for us.
Well, that's probably pretty good, lowering your center of gravity a little bit for some of those gnarly climbs. And
yes.
And
yeah,
drops.
Absolutely. There's a lot of off camber and some crazy climbs in Moab, which having a lower center of gravity vehicle is much to your advantage out there.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I have no experience with Moab, but I've seen lots and lots of videos. It's on my bucket list to go. And we'll a little bit further in the show, we'll talk about my changes that are coming up. So, but are you not doing that 3-link right now on the front, are you, or 4-link?
No, yeah, I have a 3-link and a 3-link from 4-Wheel Underground front 3-link, and I'm doing a trailing arm triangulated 4-link from 4-Wheel Underground, but those are going to go on the Samantha build, the 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my goal is to get Samantha up and running hopefully by the end of this year. I'd love to have like a primary run to get it out to King of the Hammers next year, and then have it dialed in for Cruise Moab within a year from now. That's my main goal. I was going to try to get it done for Trail Hero. I'd really like to go to Trail Hero, but there's no way I'm going to be able to do that. So
well, Trail Heroes, that's kind of the next big event in the for the group off-roading situations. I mean, obviously people are going to get excited and stoked for Sierra Trek, which is in August, but that pales in comparison to Trail Hero or even King of the Hammers. I mean, those two events are just off the charts. So obviously I'd love to make it to Trail Hero too, but as I've said in previous episodes, and it's my vacation situation is not exactly ideal right now. So,
right.
But yeah, that's super cool. I mean, you've got a lot of stuff going on and as we all do. And I look forward to seeing this Samantha build come to fruition and see it. Maybe
I think
if
a lot of
just,
people are.
Yeah, I know you've been talking about it a long time.
Yeah, literally this build, and I'm ashamed to sort of admit this, but this build has been going on for almost 3 years. And I'll just work on it for a little bit and then stop for I'll work on it during winter and then stop, and I'll wheel during summer. And then I'll work on it during winter and stop and then wheel for summer. And
you've had some life changes and stuff that have kind of bumped into that situation too a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. And every time that I stop, I think of a new direction or I have a new path for that build, and I decide that I want to change some things, and then it slows me down and I go backwards a little bit. So I'm finally to the point where I'm like, and even that, so this one, I was going to do spring under with these cool looking sliders for the rear and then 3-link front. And then we spoke to Brian from 4-Wheel Underground, and we were able to work out a deal for the podcast and advertising. And we got some parts, to throw into the rigs. And I'm like, okay, this is the last change I'm going to do. Cause I was even looking at changing the axles. I'm like, this build could be badass if I did X, Y, and Z. And I was like, no, I just need to, I have a plan. I just need to stick to it. And then I just need to finish this build.
So Jeep axles, right?
I was looking at some, Dana 44. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, that's cool. I hope maybe when you get it before, if I don't know when you're going to set it, when it might be done, but maybe you take it out to Prairie City and we all convene up there and see it flex its stuff. That'd be kind of a hoot.
Yeah. We could try to arrange something. It might be a wet season when I plan on getting it done. Cause if I am going to try to get it done for King of the Hammers, that means I'm probably, sometime in January, I'm going to be out there trying to test it out and flex it out and do something. So
what's the tire size plan on that? 37s?
40s.
Oh,
40s on Toyota axles.
Well, it's being done by somebody else we know. So, but that's temporary.
And what I found is if you have well-built axles for the Toyota, you're running chromoly shafts, you have all the gussets and all the suspension on the axle housings that you can, and especially those knuckleballs, putting the gussets onto the knuckleballs, and you don't drive with a heavy foot.
Well, you don't have that many woo-pows. You got a lot of torques, but you're not running a 400 horsepower big block through
exactly.
them. So
yeah, that truck has the 22 RE, maybe 90 horsepower. It's pretty gutless in the engine, and because of that, I'm saving everything downstream.
That's right. Well, until you engage the fourth transfer case, then all bets are off.
Yeah, so. That one it's only have 2 transfer cases, but it does have the 4.7 in one of them.
Oh, right on. Well, so it definitely has all the torques.
Yeah.
Cool. Right on. All right. Well, we can move along a bit here.
Sure.
So I'm buying a new trailer. I sold my trailer last week, and I haven't taken possession. It's not out of my possession at this point. It's going to be picked up, but I'm buying actually this Wednesday. I'm supposed to head out to a dealer in Lodi to pick up my new trailer. I'm really excited. This is a brand new, nobody's ever pulled it before. 18-foot heavy duty trailer. So it's got a 9,990 pound payload.
That's what we'll claim on air.
Trailer.
Yeah,
that's right. It's 18 feet dovetail with ramps and, LED lights and all that stuff. It's a wood deck, which I like. So, But yeah, I'm really excited.
Dovetail means that it just has an incline down at the back, right?
Correct. It's like a 2-foot dovetail to kind of ease the breakover angle. I mean, I could get a flat deck the whole way. They have those too, but I like the look of the dovetail. And it's like a lot of times when I'm pulling off the trailer, I just don't even lower the ramps. I just drive off.
Sure.
You know, the bigger the tire. I mean, obviously I'll use ramps to drive up onto it, but
right.
I'm looking forward to it because I was just you know, the long hauls with that trailer that I was using just didn't feel right. You know, it just I had that blowout on that tire. I upgraded the brakes on it, and I mean it was fine, and it still is. The buyer's getting a good deal on it, but they're not going to haul a Jeep like I am. I think they're going to be hauling a side by side or something on it. So
right,
a little bit lighter situation for them.
The last thing I heard about your trailer, your current trailer, is it was stuck in a pasture. Did you actually get that out?
Well, it's drying out. So, the people that own the pasture, they have a 4-wheel drive tractor with big, Chevron tires. But from what I'm being told, I talked to my son. He lives out there, and he said everything's movable now. It's dried out enough to pull things out.
Got it. Okay.
So, and that's where my new trailer is going to go. And, God willing, we start to see the sun and the temperatures start to warm up, which is, I guess, Easter weekend is supposed to be in the 70s, which is woohoo! Finally,
this is the first time since probably November that we have 7 days of no rain in the forecast.
I heard something that we had like 37 or 38 days of rain this winter.
Yeah,
I mean full-fledged all day long rains. Gully washers. And I'm like. We all say, oh, we need the rain, it's drought, blah, blah, blah. But, it's like, I've had enough. I'm done. I want to move on with summer now and warmer temperatures and not run my furnace in my house and all this stuff. So, but yeah, so new trailer's on the way. I'm looking forward to it. I'll post pictures. So speaking of the trailer, and this is something I'd like to throw out to the listeners and even you, Jimmy, if you want to chime in. So it's a brand new trailer. It's going to have brand new everything, brand new tires, brakes, bearings, the whole shebang, new coupler, the whole everything. I mean, they say they do a PDI, pre-delivery inspection on it. And, but when I bring it home, do I go through it myself? Would you recommend, or would you do that? Not waste your time, but spend your time, inspecting everything to make sure it's good to go. Cause I mean, we're talking about something that we put a pretty substantial payload on and haul hundreds of miles generally. And it's like, would you trust what the dealer tells you, I guess is the question.
Yeah, that's a great question to ask. I think if it's a reputable trailer company, then you're probably okay. Like one of the normal name brand ones. I would probably give it a quick look over, just, look at some of the welds and some of the key areas. I don't know if I would dive as deep as like opening up the wheels and the drum area and inspecting that it's all greased properly. I would assume that they know how to do that. Right. And I don't know if I'd go as far as even crawling underneath the vehicle. I think if it's new and it's a reputable trailer company, then I would probably just give it the once over when you're purchasing it, making sure it's all okay. And then I just run with it. Personally. Well,
yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'll give it a once over, and obviously when you before you leave the trailer dealer lot, lock up the brakes, make sure they all, use the manual control on the brake controller, make sure they all lock up like they're supposed to, and so they're all working, and then just drive it, use it, and then after that, you go into your annual maintenance program, check the tires. Of course, check the tires during every trip as you're bopping along. But,
right.
Annually pull the bearings, make sure they're greased and lubed and there's no problems with the axle shafts. I know that, or the hubs, I know that these are Dexter axles, so they're good axles, American made brand name. So super happy about that. And, just the fact that it's an overbuilt trailer, I'm just looking forward to the fact that it's going to provide years of hopefully problem-free service.
Yeah. That I'm excited for you. That's great news. Does it have the drive over fenders, or is it just a normal?
No,
it's
not. It's 84 inches or 82 inches between which fender wells, which is wider than my current setup. I mean, my 35's rub I rub on the fenders when I drive up. So I'll have probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 inches of clearance on each side now.
Yeah. Bobcat sits right around, I think it's like 75 or 76 inches wide. So yeah, I mean, unless you're on full widths.
Yeah, not fine. Right. Well, and they do sell a trailer that has drive over. It's a 18 foot by 8.5 foot with drive over fenders. But the problem is it's not the same payload. It's only 70. I think they said 7,700 pounds, and I really want that higher payload capacity. So I mean, I don't know that I'm ever going to go full widths and go over the top with Dana 60 and a 14 bolt. I don't know if I see that in my future. I mean, it's kind of. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, maybe someday. I know that our friend James, Samurai James, keeps emailing me advertisements for YJs that have been fully caged and linked and coilovers and 1 tons front and rear, but they're all like some are in other parts of the United States and they're not street legal. They'd never be able to be registered in the state of California. And one of my stipulations is I always want to be able to drive my Jeep and have it plated in the state and pass smog, and because I live in an area where all of us live in an area where we have to pass smog or figure out how to get around that. And
right. And it's extremely strict in our areas and our counties, which there are counties in California where they're not nearly as strict as where we are, but we, especially as somewhat public figures in our industry, air quotes up there to some extent, I'm trying to do everything legal, right? I'm not trying to cut corners. I'm not trying to, have an LLC in Montana and, do whatever the heck I want to my vehicles and still have them driving on the streets here. I want to be legal and obey the law and prove that it can be done.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. Once you start, messing with the gas, like, okay, a 4-link in my Jeep would be cool if I could keep the powertrain the same, but then I'd have to move the gas tank, and you move the gas tank and that suddenly makes it so you can't pass smog. Whatever. I mean, people are, oh no, you can pass smog. It's like, well, then I lose my back seat too. And sometimes, my kids are getting older and they don't want to sit in the back seat.
I've been looking into that rule a little bit because I'm planning on moving the gas tank on Samantha because I'm doing a 4-link. And from what I've found so far, we'll find out if this is legal later when I'm actually going through tech and resmogging that vehicle, is as long as it's a stock gas tank, you can kind of put it wherever you want. Because it's okay. Yeah. If you go fuel cell, you can't. It won't be legal. But if you have like a stock gas tank, and I move the Toyota gas tank to like if I just turn it 90 degrees, that's okay.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'd have to. I don't know how a stock gas tank would fit in the cargo area of my Jeep. It'd be I'll have to build some sort of bracket or assembly or cradle. I don't even know.
Cut a hole in the floor and sink it down a little bit.
That's right. Dovetail or whatever whatever the term for that is. But that gets into body work, and I'm not a body guy. So anyway, that's there's a lot of cool stuff that are potential. But I mean, just the fact that I'm upgrading my trailer situation, and it's going to be timely because the summer wheeling season is, I'd like to say the summer wheeling season is right around the corner, but I think that with the amount of snow that's up in the Sierras right now for the trails we like to recreate on, whether it's Fort Ice or Rubicon or even easier trails like Slick Rock or Deer Valley, I don't know, man. I mean, we're looking at, I don't even know, June, mid-June, July, early July. Yeah. I mean, even Meadow Lake for Sierra Trek's going to probably still have snow at it.
Maybe. I was talking to somebody about this the other day. I think we discussed it a little bit on one of our podcasts. I had a listener reach out and said, hey, we're planning to do the Rubicon in July. Are we going to be able to go all the way through? And I said, I have no idea. If we get rain and we get some high heats here in a little bit, yeah, probably. But if we don't and it stays a little cool and we maybe get more snow or it just doesn't heat up super fast, you can probably make it to Buck. You might be able to make it to Rubicon Springs, but you probably won't be able to get up Cadillac or go out to Tahoma. All that area is higher elevation and colder.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, we've seen the footage and heard the stories from Nick Bailey, talking about the levels of snow up there when they were doing that recovery of that XJG, 5 years ago. And I mean, it's no joke up there, people. I mean, this winter is one to write home about for sure.
Yeah, it's breaking all records. I think a lot of places we've actually broke the all-time records, and I've heard, and I don't know if this is true. I find it shocking, but I heard that the Whitney region of California is 300% over normal.
That's Southern Cal, right?
Yeah. It's down, like, I don't even know if Fresno, east of Fresno,
right?
South of Bishop, on 395. It's south of there. So yeah, it's above Bakersfield, but that area has gotten a ton of snow. There's still, I think, up here in like Truckee area or, South Lake Tahoe area, I think we're still in second place. I don't think we've actually passed the record. Apparently there was a gnarly storm season in like 1952 or something like that.
Yeah,
and everywhere in California that was the record in 1952.
Right. Well, I heard that Mammoth, at the peak, top of Mammoth, they had like, I don't know, 800 inches, and you do the math or whatever it was, it came out to like 57 feet of snow.
Yeah.
57. It's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. I was joking with my friends, and it's a funny joke to some extent because I would never do it. But I was telling them that I was going to go hike Whitney right now because I have a lot of friends that have hiked Whitney, and they're proud because they've hiked a higher elevation than I've hiked in my life.
Okay.
And so I told them I was going to hike Whitney right now, and I was going to be 50 feet higher than when they did it. And so I'd be at a higher elevation than them.
I can't even imagine the level of exhaustion trying to do that with snowshoes on. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Woo.
Well, that's the time. That's the fun time to hike some of these mountains, to be honest. Like, I've hiked Shasta, and I usually do it in the winter because on the way down, you literally just sit down and slide down the mountain.
Wow.
Yeah. And so
carry a snowboard and just ski down.
Yeah, you could do that too. But yeah, it's extremely dangerous if you have no idea. It's not an easy hike at all. It's like hiking a sand dune a lot of times where you're just, every step is you're just sliding down to the previous step and you're not going anywhere. So it's like hiking the mountain 3 times. But
yeah, you gotta burn a lot of energy. That's for sure.
Yeah. But there's some bragging rights there that I think would have been fun.
Bring a lot of Cliff Bars.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. So that's kind of that. And then I just wanted to say, one of the other things, and like we said, I would kind of preface this about getting into the summer wheeling season when it happens. It will happen when it happens. Is getting our rigs ready for it. And I know you're working on getting, Bobcat ready to go to Cruise Moab, which is a Toyota Land Cruiser event, but I guess they let any Toyota go in there. Are there Jeeps in that too, or no?
Yeah,
or is it just
they let anybody in. It's it's put on by the Rising Sun 4x4 Club outside of like Colorado, somewhere in Colorado, but it's a TLCA, Toyota Land Cruiser Association event. But anybody can come out and participate. It is Toyota centric. It is Land Cruiser, biased, but they do let anybody in. We've gone out there a few years. I'm in my pickup and Tyler's in his 4Runner, and we're cruising around with other guys and random things. We even last year we did the trifecta, which is it's Poison Spider, Golden Spike, and then another one at the end of it. I can't remember off my hand. But the trail lead was in a Jeep. So,
okay. Oh, that's right. Yeah, I think I heard that.
We made fun of him a lot, but
well, and Tyler's going to be there in his Bronco this year.
Tyler's going to be in his Bronco, yep, and he's going to do Metal Masher in his Bronco, which I'm shocked. We'll see how well that goes.
We'll see how the secretary feels about that.
Yeah,
my brand new truck.
I hope she drives. That's what I hope.
That'd be cool. So, kind of going on that, prepping our rigs for the summer wheeling season. I know you're doing your thing. I got to start working on mine again. Got to dig it out a little bit. But one of the things that is our rigs are all older, and they usually get the shit beat out of them. I didn't do a whole lot of wheeling last summer because of my new work situation. But I am going to start working on it because I'm getting a new trailer. I'm accruing my vacation time, so I am going to play this summer. I don't know to what all the trails I'm going to get on, but one of them is the Rubicon for sure. And then I'm not sure I'm going to play on Fordyce, but I think during Sierra Trek, I'm probably going to do the Outer Limits run. So the Bear Valley Loop.
Yeah.
And then obviously do some of the Slick Rock trails, and we'll do our Adopted Trail sometime. Well, probably not in June.
Yeah. Still under snow.
But going through the rigs and kind of making sure you nut and bolt it, make sure everything's good. Look for cracks, look for any stress that any suspect parts, leaking shocks, whatever, leaks in general. I mean, all of our rigs leak a little bit, but it shouldn't be, profuse. And then, just jump in if you have any thoughts on this, because I was also going to look at my vehicle battery. I know that I keep my Jeep on a trickle charger, and I've got a big Odyssey battery in it, but I think that battery is 11 years old now.
Wow.
So
that's impressive.
Yeah, well, it's an expensive, heavy ass battery, yeah. So I kind of hope it's good. It still starts the Jeep, and it holds charge for like days on end when I take it off the trickle charger. But this is now I'm getting to the point where I want to load test it and maybe see if it's going to be good. And because I have 11-year-old battery, and because when we're on trail, we start and stop the engine quite a bit as people get stuck, or you maybe have to winch, or God knows what. Are you running all these auxiliary lights or stereo, and and refrigerators in some cases? You just want to make sure your battery's good. So I am a little concerned about that, and I may just pull the trigger and swap it out this spring.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. The battery's definitely something you always should check out. I think there's you could have a little debate whether you have used your rig for snow wheeling or if you've had a rig that is just been stationary all winter. Because if you do snow wheeling, I would highly suggest you drain the diff oils and drain anything that might have any bit of water intrusion during the winter months. You probably want to change all those fluids. Where I also would suggest that for if you just had your rig not doing anything, I would suggest highly changing some of the fluids. A lot of our rigs we don't daily drive them.
Nope.
They just sort of sit around for when we go off roading. And so you don't really need to follow the 3,000 mile, 5,000 mile oil change thing because,
500 maybe.
Yeah. Right. That's exactly it. But I do change it at least every year. Right. I'll change it. I change it before I go do Cruise Moab, which is usually my biggest first big wheeling event of the year. I'll just change all the fluids. Boom. And then, but if your rig has been stationary, you should probably start it, let it run, check out how it is before you take it off roading, because maybe you have, it's been dry so long that maybe some of the gaskets are now cracked and you haven't ran the vehicle. So once you start running the vehicle, you'll find new leaks. You might find some problems. So I think that, that if you, depending on which scenario you're kind of doing, whether you've been driving it a long time, you should probably change the place. Pay attention to wherever the water has been hitting. And if you've had it dry, you should probably do a test run before you take it off-roading to make sure that everything's okay.
Not just, test driving it as I drive it onto the trailer.
Right. Yeah. Let it warm up, get to temperature, maybe drive around the block, hit it at some speed, see if everything's working appropriately before you throw it on the trailer and take it off to some event.
See if all the flat spots, you got to work all the flat spots out of the tires.
Yeah.
I drive my Jeep around the block about once a month, and it's like, thunk, 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 it's like, come on, man. But, and then obviously I know I get a lot of shit from people, but, I don't drive the Jeep enough during the winter. I don't drive it enough at all right now, but, I do put Sta-Bil in the gas tank, and I run that to make sure that nothing goes wrong with the fuel system, because a lot of those components are difficult to get to or expensive to replace. And, like the fuel pump in a Jeep, I've had the tank out of that thing once before, and I do not want to be doing that on trail. So, it's important. We beat the snot out of these things and want to take good care of them, because you take good care of them in your garage, and then more often than not, you're not going to have any issues on trail unless you're, banging off the rev limiter. I'm not going to make that sound effect. But,
yeah. I've always taken the winter as a good time to do maintenance and upkeep or upgrades. And then since I've been hanging out with Tyler more and more, which I don't know if it's a positive or a negative, you guys can make that judgment. I've been doing more snow wheeling, so I've had less time to do my maintenance and upgrades because there's always a wheeling season. So I think I just believe that you just need to schedule a time to have upgrades or just general maintenance all in all.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. And it was interesting. You said earlier on about changing the fluids after the winter wheeling season. Cause that was going to be one of my questions, or one of my topics was, when do you change the fluids? Do you change them in the spring? Do you change them in the fall? Now, in my case, I'm going to change them in the spring. I'm due for an oil change. I'm going to change all my diff fluids, transfer case. I don't know if I'll do my transmission or not, cause I did that last year and I fucking like 200 miles.
Yeah, you're probably
so. But I do want to change the diff fluid because I didn't do that last year. I did stick my finger in there, and it's good. It's not milky or anything like that. So, but a little bit of preventive maintenance now saves for a lot of headaches later on. And knowing that with the ARBs and the seals on them, you want to use the right stuff, high quality fluids. Don't cheap out on that. Don't go with the non-name brand generic stuff. I like to use Valvoline is what my go-to is. I know other people are good with Royal Purple or whatever synthetic stuff. I don't generally go. I do put synthetics in my new Chevy pickup truck for oil because it's just the cost difference isn't really that much. But everything else is normal dyno oil. I think that's important stuff. And then kind of getting into the recovery gear. I know, during the winter, a lot of kinetic straps get used and potentially the winch. But when you're playing in snow, things don't generally get too dirty. But I like to go through and clean all my stuff and inspect it and make sure it's good to go. And inspect that winch rope.
Yeah.
If you're still running a standard wire rope cable, run that thing out and check it for cuts and pinch points and whatnot. You want to make sure it hasn't been crushed because it's crossed over each other on the winch drum. If you run synthetic, pull that thing out, wash it, rinse it, put it in a bucket like Jason has said numerous times with a little bit of simple green and let it soak, and then hose it off and then run it back onto your winch. But we need to run these things back on under tension. So you need a friend. You need to, you can't really do it in the neighborhood because you block the road. But find a way to run that cable out so you can winch it back in with, apply the brakes. Have a friend to kind of make sure it's getting onto the drum evenly. But that's important too, because if you don't do that, it'll kind of fall in between the gaps when you're doing a heavy winch on a recovery.
Yeah, absolutely. Another fun trick is to go out to like a supermarket parking lot and strap it around a light post out there, and then you have all the room in the world too. Right. So you can try to push it one way or another, or if you're confident enough, you can sit in the cab and apply the brakes and just steer back and forth and have it all aligned. But that way you can do it yourself, and you have a tree or a light post or something out there that's going to be stay in the ground for sure.
I used to do that in Hollister Hills in Area 5 when we go down for the clinic twice a year. I'd hook up to one of the oak trees in the middle of the campsite and winch myself in. All the trees are gone. I mean, it's like in the middle area around where the loop road is, all those big trees that used to be there, they're all gone. So I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I guess you can find a tree off to the side, but a lot of those trees are have poison oak around them. You don't want to be messing around with that too much.
Pretty vicious poison oak down there for sure.
You imagine what it's going to be like this year with all the rainfall.
Yeah, I'm not coming to the safety clinic this year just because of that.
Jesus, don't be a wimp, come on, man.
I get it so bad. It's funny. I've always said I get it. Like I drive by it with my window down and I'll get poison oak, and I've been saying that for a while. And the assistant, my wife, has always said, "But you've never had it since we've been dating. You've never had poison oak." And I'm like, "Yeah." So I don't go around it. Like I avoid it like the plague.
Well, it's funny too, because I mean, a lot of people bring their dogs to Hollister for the clinic, and whether they're staff or members of the club or students, and the dogs run around, they go into the woods and they come back and everybody's petting the dogs. I'm like, I never touch anybody's dog.
Yeah, that's smart.
God only knows where that thing's been and what it's been running through and who knows what. So like to stay out of that. But the only other thing, I mean, we've had a good chat. I know that it's been just time flies when you're having a good time, right? But I have a few upgrades I want to do on my Jeep before the wheeling season starts. I've got the rock lights I've been sitting on trying to get installed. So I'm going to get that happening here pretty shortly. And then, I bought an aux beam, control.
Yeah. Okay.
8 switch controller that I'm going to put in, and I'm going to tie in the rock lights and my LED lights. And I'm talking about putting heat seaters in, but I'm not going to do it right now because summertime's right around the corner. So, and I'm going to put Jason says not to do the ARB, twin air compressor connected to it. And I want to do the compressor. I want to clean up my dash is what I'm trying to do. I got switches here, there, and everywhere. And I want to that's the whole point of this thing, is to consolidate all my switches and controls. So have the ARB twin air and my ARB lockers front and rear all on this control panel, and of course at some point the seat heaters. But Jason's telling me you shouldn't run the compressor through that, but it's all low voltage because there's relays and whatnot. So I don't understand why that's the case. Have you have any thoughts on that?
No, I don't know why. The only thought I have is if you have some sort of electrical problem, then that entire switch goes down, then you can't activate the lockers to help get you out of wherever you're at.
Well, that's a valid concern,
whether if it's on its solo system, then it's easier to diagnose. I don't know. I'm not sure. I think that's my only guess, is it's keep the essential items sort of separate, and lights and seat heaters or whatever, throw them on one of those. But doesn't he have his starter? Doesn't he have a button that starts his rig on his?
Yeah, he's got that fancy Switch Pros or whatever.
Yeah, the 12 one.
Yeah.
Well, and he can start his rig by hitting a button on there. I don't know if he has another way.
Well, he's got a security code on it too now, so you can't just Amber Turner can't just jump in there and steal his rig.
Yeah, because Amber just likes to flop everything.
Well, right.
But yeah, so I don't know what his logic is behind that, but I'm actually kind of curious. I want to know what you think of that panel from Auxbeam, because I've been working or talking to Auxbeam a little bit about outfitting the Samantha build in Auxbeam lights and the switch and everything for the most part Auxbeam on that vehicle. And I've not heard anything positive or negative about that switcher. So I'm just kind of curious how you like it, how the install goes, how it's working.
Mm-hmm. So. Well, there's a step that has to happen before I do the Auxbeam install, because the place I want to put the Auxbeam switch is also the best location for where my ham radio, the Yaesu FTM 400 faceplate.
Yeah.
So that's the dashboard on my Wrangler YJ is there's not a whole lot of spots for it, and then I don't have a roll bar, so I don't have that crossbar just above the dash like a lot of people have if they have a full roll cage. Mm-hmm. To clamp things to. So funnily enough, I know I highlighted that Dog Fox Industries cup holder that I installed on the driver, which is badass, by the way. But they came out with this super cool, like 2 weeks ago, this new mounting bracket that goes across the top of the dash, and it's a square, and it uses these T-nuts they're quarter 20, and you can mount different, it has basically endless options to mount, ham radio face plates or GoPro cameras or whatever, so I bought that, and it should be here next week. So I'm going to install that, which will allow me to relocate my ham radio faceplate up higher so I can open up the space for the Auxbeam down below the gauge cluster.
Nice.
And then that's kind of that's what it's like. Everything's starting to come together. I've been looking for some sort of multiple mounting option for things, accessories, GPS or my phone, that are not hokey looking and stout and sturdy. And I think I found it. So I've already told the guy from Dog Fox, I said, I'm going to buy this thing and I'm going to talk about it on the show once it's installed, and and I'll give him my thoughts on it. So,
and you just spoke about it before you've even installed it. So
I know. Well, I'm really, I love the cup holder. That thing is stout as hell, and it's like, because the factory center console cup holder in the Jeep it's tiny. It's basically good enough for a 12-ounce can.
Right.
So we got these big coffee cups. They don't fit in there. So now I can stick my big coffee cup in the cup holder on the left side near the door, and it's out of the way and it's secure, and I can go wheeling and whatever. So I'm always looking for ways to make the inside of my Jeep a little bit more comfortable. And my plan is to wheel quite a bit this year, at least quite a bit for me, which is double what I did last year, which was 1 run. So if I do 2 or 3 runs this year, it'll be pretty freaking awesome for me. So That's my goal.
Well, that'll be good. We need to get you out on the trail more.
Well, that's what I want to do. I mean, that's why I have all this camping gear and trailers and our trailer and Jeep and all the shit that goes with it. So, all right. Well, you have anything you want to talk about, bring up?
I didn't know if you wanted to discuss some Dodge news or anything that might be out there, since you're, I don't know if you'd call me better half of the podcast scenario, is not around to yell at you. You can
cut me off.
Yeah, or cut you off or tell you how much he despises them. But, this might be a good time if there's any Dodge news out there that you can say things that you won't get berated by.
I think he got hit by a Dodge truck when he was a baby.
Maybe, yeah, probably.
No, I mean, there's nothing really crazy that's going on. I mean, I like the Dodge world. I love the Cummins engine. I know that they're talking about, I mentioned it a couple times in a previous episode, but they've introduced or talked about this Rev 1500. It's the range extended vehicle, I guess. With the EV trend, like we talked about earlier in the show with the Rivians and whatnot. Ford's got theirs, and then Chevy's coming out with theirs. I guess sometime early next year. But the thing about all these vehicles is they're freaking expensive as all hell. And it's like, those early adopters, the ones that have money, are going to snap these things up. And but the range sucks on them if you're towing, like we said earlier, But so Dodge is looking at it. I guess they've got a big battery pack, but they've also got a 4-wheel drive drivetrain and front and rear motors. I don't know exactly what the powertrain's going to break out as, but it's also got a gasoline engine under the hood that turns a generator. So it's a plug-in, but it can also kick on, and the generator can kick on when you need to keep going. If you're climbing Priest Grade to go up to Yosemite and you need the extra whoop house. So that's kind of a different look on things. And that's what I like about Dodge and in general, is they're always like looking for a different way to do things. And there's more than one way to skin a cat. So,
sure.
And that's kind of cool, the way their engineering minds are working on that. But, looking at, and then the other little bit, and this is Ford news, but they raised the price on
the Lightning,
on the Lightning by $20,000. I mean, it's like, holy shit. And somebody piped in, I think it was Rodney, he's like, that's still, in line with the industry. And I'm like, yeah, but Ford, I mean, they're fine tuning their sales model, but obviously these companies are in business to make money, and that's their goal, right? They're not here to go broke and go out of business. They're there to succeed and do well and pay the shareholders and whatnot. So, but man, I just, the idea of shelling out, $80,000 for a truck that can go, 200 miles unloaded and 90 miles fully loaded, with a trailer, just doesn't make sense to the average dude, or dudette. I don't know. I mean, they got to go a long ways on these things. And the point you made earlier, that these rigs EVs are more suited towards commuting short distances. If you live in the Bay Area like we do, or the Sacramento metropolitan area, if you live in the suburbs and you bop in, you have a 30-mile commute each direction, it's perfect. Yeah. It's absolutely perfect. You get home at the end of the day, you plug your car in the garage, hope you don't burn your house down, and start over and wash, rinse, repeat, do it the next day.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I don't know, just not a lot of Dodge talk.
I don't know. Yeah, I just really like how Dodge has been pushing the limits on that, even just sticking with the petrol style, engine, but always just, we've got the Hellcat, or we have the SVT, whatever racing, thing they have.
And the TRX truck.
Yeah, the TRX truck, and they're always trying to keep trying to become bigger, more horsepower, faster, whatever they're doing. They're not giving up on that game. And I give them the thumbs up for, trying to do some of those things and push those limits, whether it's electrical, hybrid, or your gas. I think they're going to get into that game eventually, but I think what I like is they keep pushing the limit of horsepower and torque and speed and, off-road capabilities.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's more, no replacement for displacement is what these engineers think about every day at work.
Sure.
But unfortunately, there is an end date for the Hellcat engine, and they've announced this, and I guess it's sometime early next year or late this year is they're going to pull the plug on production for that. And they got a lot of flack for the replacement for the Hellcat. Supposed to be a battery powered Hellcat that's going to outperform the gasoline one.
Wow.
But they've also made a sound system for it, so it sounds like a gasoline car. I guess they've got some sort of resonator thing to come out the exhaust pipe to make it sound like a big block. I don't know.
That's funny.
It sounded electronic, and people were laughing at it, and I'll be the first to laugh too. I say, come on, man.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, it's being, gearheads that we are, and thinking about, talking about EVs, and it's unfortunately what's going to happen to all of us. We're going to get EV'd out. Listen, that podcast I listened to, Wheel Bearings, they forever and ever and ever, I've been listening for years, and they've always talked about internal combustion engines, whether it's a Cadillac or, whatever, Camaros and so forth. And I think the last 3 or 4 episodes has been the only cars they've been reviewing have been EVs, whether it's supercar EVs or just, mainstream EVs from Tesla or, Volkswagen. Every manufacturer has EVs now, every one of them.
Yeah.
And so, and with the mandates that are happening from California and our wonderful governor and the California Resource Board, whatever. I mean, it's going to suck, but as long as we can keep our stuff running and we can find a gas station to put fuel in it, we'll continue recreating as best we can.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if the Wheel Bearings podcast is trying to forecast the future by just reviewing that, or looking at the trends of the market and seeing that EV content is popular right now, and they're just trying to get better downloads one way or another. I did talk to Tyler a while ago, like a year or so ago, about how we should focus on electric trucks, and that should be one of our highlights of our podcast, even though, we're Toyota people, but we should start talking about all electric off-road trucks. And there's not a lot out there at the moment, but it was something that we had discussed at some point of like, do we want to make ourselves known for this market that's going to be starting and get into it soon? And be the people that are talking about it.
Well, it's I mean, it's intriguing for sure, and it's going to happen. It's happening, and we don't have a choice. And I mean, but fortunately we have a choice as what vehicles we can buy. And you guys being Toyota centric, thinking about, right now the Tundra has a hybrid powertrain. I guess now you said the Tacoma is going to have the same thing. And I don't know, is the new Sequoia coming with a hybrid powertrain also?
Has one. It's already.
So it's the same drivetrain basically as the Tundra then with the twin turbo V6. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that's intriguing to see. And now, does that also allow it to drive in all electric mode, or is it no?
I don't think so. I don't believe so. I think it's just a hybrid state, because it's a P2 hybrid, which means that the engine's running, but then it's giving power at like the torque converter point.
Okay.
So I don't think it can go into full full electric mode.
Hydrogen. You want to say hydrogen?
I did do it this time, didn't I? Sorry. I don't know why I do that.
You're just looking forward to a hydrogen powered truck.
Yeah, Freudian slip.
That's right. Right on. Well, that's future talk, past talk, and get ready for the summer talk. I mean, we've kind of covered it all.
Yeah.
Which is super cool. And I mentioned it before we hit the record button, but I absolutely appreciate you taking time out of your Sunday to Sunday to sit down and record with me while my co-host is missing in action. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, no problem, Chris. This was a lot of fun. I really appreciate you inviting us on. I think it's fun that we're having a co-host conversation, right? No, normally the other gentlemen in our podcast are the main talkers, and this has been a lot of fun that we've actually been able to run a podcast or be a part of the podcast and do our talks and our discussions. So this is pretty cool.
Yeah, we can do this. We really can. All right. So how do they get a hold of you, Jimmy, if they want to send you love letters and whatnot?
Yeah, you can get a hold of me. I'm over on Instagram at Snail Trail 4x4. That's 4x4. You can also email me at jimmy@snailtrail4x4.com. I do want to give a challenge out to you, though, Chris.
Go ahead.
I want to challenge you to see who's going to off-road more times this year.
Oh.
And I will give you, and if you'll give me, as long as we're out at an off-road event. So I know you didn't take your Jeep down to King of the Hammers, but you went down to King of the Hammers, and you were down there for 5 days?
Oh, 9.
9 days. So you're already 9 days ahead of me.
Well, yeah,
so let's do it, because I've got a lot of things going in my life that's going to keep me back at my house. I'm working on
you and me both
fixing a house that we're going to move into. Once that house is done, I've got to fix the assistant's house to possibly sell. And then I want to finish the Samantha build, which means I can't be out on the trail wheeling when I'm wrenching in the garage. So you're 9 days already ahead of me, and you spend more time at Sierra Trek than I do usually. So I think this would be a good little challenge.
Well, Sierra Trek's going to be interesting. We'll see what happens, because my mom's 80th birthday is going to be that same weekend. So I'm gonna. I don't know how that's going to go. We'll have to figure that out, but to be determined. So
sounds like you're going to drive.
Challenge accepted. Hold my beer.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so if you want to get a hold of Jason or Chris and give Jason shit for not being here today, it's Jason or Chris at wheelingwinewhiskey.com. You can also go to the Instagram, Wheeling Wine Whiskey. And of course, my email Instagram is www.chrism is my Instagram handle. And then don't forget about our phone number, 408-800-5169. That is 408-800-5169. Don't forget to go to our website, www.wheelingwinewhiskey.com. And you can see all of our past episodes and merch and all the stuff there. And of course, you can buy your Element fire extinguisher, which you should have before the wheeling season starts. Any thoughts there, Jimmy?
I agree with everything you just said about Element. Those things are amazing. I have one in every single one of my rigs.
Absolutely. All of our listeners should, for sure. Absolutely. So on that note, we're out.